You need to learn to communicate in a positive way,
Yeah.
which is a big part of leadership, but being able to just mentor people that you're wanting to take along the journey.
Well, and the other thing too, I think, is it comes from letting go. It's an interesting thing because I think there's sometimes a misconception that leadership means taking on more, whereas leadership actually means taking on the right things and letting go more.
Yes.
Because how many times do we hear people just go, "Oh, look, I'm the leader, I'll
Well,
do it myself. It falls to me. Everything falls to me."
If you want more time, money, freedom, and have a business that's not reliant on you, then you're in the right place. Each week, Mark Creedon, along with some of the very best business minds in the world, will take you through simple, practical steps you can take to create the business you always wanted. From his own practical experience, Mark will show you how to work less, make more, and get the business you always wanted, the one that you deserve. Now here's your host, one of Australia's most sought-after business coaches, Mark Creedon.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Mastermind for Business podcast, the podcast for you if you're in a service business with your spouse, partner, significant other. Every week in about 15 minutes or so, we're going to show you how you can scale your business, grow, make more money, have the business a lot less reliant on you without tearing your relationship apart. And as always, joining me in the chair is Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. Good to be
Mark.
here.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, this week you've got a really interesting. So last week we spoke about niching down and getting to understand who you do business with. This week we're going to talk about leadership.
Yeah, we're looking at how we're going to get, or how essentially you move from doing to leading.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I think that is vitally important because it's not taught, right? Leadership isn't taught. And we've seen it. We've seen it where people have in clients' businesses that they've promoted somebody to a leadership, and then they've gone, oh, then they're not a leader's dog leg. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, they're really good at what they do. They get great sales numbers, and they're
yeah,
really
well,
not lots of happy clients, and they get lots of referrals.
but they're not a
They're
leader.
not a
And you go,
leader.
well, hang on, you actually haven't taught them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, it's been a long time since I was at school. Been a little bit less for you. I don't know if leadership's taught anywhere.
No, no. And it's always interesting because you see, people graduate from university and they're engineers or accountants or whatever,
Yeah.
but they don't teach them about business, or they don't teach them about leadership skills. And how can you have a business, or how can you be successful in what you're doing if you don't have a good outcome of what a good leader looks like, or having some of those skills
Yeah.
to be able to lead people, to have that?
And I think the big trick about leadership is moving from doing to leading. It's taking that shift. But you know what's really interesting? If you're listening to this now and you're going, okay, so I'm running this business, but I'm not really a leader. And it's the age-old question, are leaders born or made? And I got a pretty clear view on this, and comes from speaking to a lot of business leaders and quite a lot of military leaders as well. And I believe that leaders are made. I think that there are people that have some natural leadership skills,
Yeah.
natural born leaders, if you like, but predominantly I think they're made. And it's
Yeah.
about, I think anybody can be a leader. And in fact, one of the things that I said to the team at Metropole just last week is that the growth of the business in the next 12 months is not about leadership at the top. It's about leaders being leaders everywhere. And that's about stepping up and taking ownership of their roles and their responsibilities. But as a business owner, I mean, if you start the business like you and I, we started, it was just us.
Yeah.
And then you bring people on, then you've got a bigger team, and then you've got lots of responsibilities. But you've actually got to move into that leadership stuff. So let's talk about that moving from doing to leading.
Yeah. There's got to be keys of that. Obviously, is communication. You need to learn to communicate in a positive way,
Yeah.
which is a big part of leadership. But being able to just mentor people that you're wanting to take along the journey.
Well, and the other thing too, I think, is it comes from letting go.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because I think there's sometimes a misconception that leadership means taking on more, whereas leadership actually means taking on the right things and letting go more.
Yes. Yeah.
Because what happens because how many times do we hear people just go, oh, look, I'm the leader, I'll do it myself.
Yep.
Yeah, it falls to me. Everything falls to me.
Yep. Yeah, because people often go, oh, the buck stops with me if I don't get this right, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But then you have to go, hang on a minute. If you help somebody if you delegate essentially that responsibility to somebody else and they get it right, you can actually do twice as much.
Yeah. So like it's that old, rather than, feeding a person to fish, you teach a person to fish, right? But we see that I'll do it because I think people think that the buck stops with me means that I have to do it.
Yes.
Whereas what we teach is the fact that the buck stops with you means that you have ultimate responsibility for the success or otherwise of a project or the business or a job or whatever it might be. But having responsibility for that doesn't mean that you have to do it. And you can delegate that responsibility. It's just that now the success or otherwise the delegation rests on you.
Yeah. Yep. One way to help get clarity on that is to do a strengths and weaknesses examination, I suppose, and look at the people that you have in your business. And you might think that because somebody is really good at doing a particular role, that they're going to be the best leader doing something that you need to have achieved. But when you look at, and we've had an example of this in businesses before, where you sort of go, oh, this person's got a really great attitude and they'll be really good at being able to lead this particular department. But then when you sort of sit down and put pen to paper and really think about it, you go, well, they're probably not organized enough
Right. So
to do that. So that's not going to be a strength for that role, because it needs to be a person who is a really organized person.
so they're a good technician.
They're a good technician, but
Yeah.
not a good organizer.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, Caroline, is that in order to be a successful leader, and we spoke about, you have to let go. And the risk if you don't is that you become the bottleneck. And we've seen that too. We've seen that in businesses that they've reached a certain point of success, but they will not move beyond it because everything has to go through the business owner.
Yeah.
They don't trust their team. Or even if they do trust their team, they just feel like I can't let go. And we've seen businesses plateau.
Yeah.
And the sole reason why they've plateaued, like there's growth there, there's potential there. But the reason why they plateau is because everything has to go through the business owner, or everything has to go through the CEO or the leader or whatever it might be. And the more that you fall into that trap, the less you're going to get done, and probably the less growth you'll get out of the business.
Yeah. You have reins, then, you need to have reins on people so that you can drive the ship and things like that. You get into the right place. But if you don't give enough slack on the reins, then you're not going to be able to win the race. You need to be able to trust your team. You need to be able to trust people, and you need to be able to trust that the people that you're giving the responsibility to are going to be able to achieve the outcome.
Yeah, you do. I've never seen reins on a ship, but I love your analogy.
I know, but I was actually going to say horses, but I didn't mean to think.
Reins on a
I
ship,
sort of thought that might be a bit
like the wheel on the horse
like the wheel on the horse.
or the rudder on the
Horses
horse.
can have wheels if
Okay.
they're pacers.
Okay. So I love mixed metaphors. So the thing is, I think what we're talking about here is moving to leadership. Stop doing
Yeah.
and start delegating. All right. But we know, and one of the things that we teach all the time in Mastermind is the rules around delegation. Can I talk about those rules?
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's 4 basic rules of delegation. Number 1 is, does the person you're delegating to have all the skills, tools, and resources to successfully carry out what you've asked them to? Number 2, are the expectations crystal clear? Number 3, is there something time bound? In other words, I'm delegating this. I know they've got the tools. I've made really clear what I want, and I want it done by next Friday. So there has to be a time. I was having a conversation with an unstick call with one of our clients on Friday. In fact, she said, "Yeah, I've delegated this and I've done all that." And she said, "Nobody's come back to me." I went, "Okay, cool. Did you put a time frame on it?" "Oh, yes." I said, "As soon as possible." And that's not a time frame.
I know when I wanted it.
Yeah. They never actually
Yesterday.
said the time. That's right. And then the 4th thing is, you talk about this a lot. You have to help your people to shift from task ownership to role ownership or responsibility ownership. Yeah. So the 4th one is that you are not delegating the task, you're delegating the responsibility for the task. And I reckon that is probably the number one secret ingredient to successful delegation, is to delegate the responsibility. So when somebody comes back to you and says, "I don't know what's next," or "I'm not sure," it's their responsibility to come up with something.
Yeah. And I think it empowers people if they've got responsibility to achieve something. When you do that with kids, if you give them responsibility of the smallest of tasks and they complete that, they get excited and they're proud of themselves, and that just builds momentum over time.
Well, it shows trust, doesn't it? I mean, if you delegate the responsibility to somebody in your business for something, it shows that you trust them. And I reckon, like, that's just vitally important. If you're listening to this now and you've only got, one team member, we'll talk about teams in a second, but if you've only got one person, You've got to trust them. You've got to trust that they're going to perform the job the way it needs to be done. But that doesn't necessarily mean exactly the same way that you would do it.
No. If you can have the job completed or the task, the outcome completed, and it's 80% as good as what you would do it, then why would you not delegate that role? At the end of the day, you want to be able to have a team behind you that you can go on holidays and you can have 2 weeks off or 6 months off or whatever, and know that your business is going to survive because you've got a whole lot of trust in people who can responsibly achieve the outcomes.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that if you can get people into that position where you've delegated that and successfully, suddenly it frees you up to be working in your genius zone, right? To be doing the things that you really want to be doing. And and the other thing too, Caroline, is, when we talk about team, it's not just people who work for you, is it?
No, team is your suppliers. It's each other. It's your business partners.
Alliance partners, support
Alliance
partners, referral partners, suppliers. You want to know that you've got. I mean, how cool is it when your suppliers, for example, or anybody who works with you, knows you and your product and your service standards so well that they help you to meet it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you've delegated and they take some responsibility for it.
Yeah.
But you can only get to that point by being crystal clear about, and also then letting go.
Yep. Again, we need to make sure that we're having, good, clear conversations at the outset so that all the parameters are crystal clear. Everybody knows what the outcome is at the end of the day. If you've got a bookkeeper who you- you're not clear with what the outcome is every month, they're not going to be able to help you get the best out of their business as what you need to.
And the other thing too, we talk about being clear around delegation, roles and responsibilities. It's really relevant for couples as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna if you're not clear, you'll double up and you'll end up wondering, why are you doing my job and why am I doing your job? Hang on a minute.
Mm.
There's resentment.
Oh yeah, that was the key word that I was thinking of. I reckon it builds resentment. You sort of go, hey, hang on a second. Do you not trust me? And we've seen it. We've seen where you've got a couple in business where one person does so much. And if you were looking from the outside, you go, wow, like they do 80% of the work. The other person, doesn't contribute. But in fact, they'd love to.
Yeah. And it's funny because we have done this and it's not other businesses. We have been through this experience where you sort of go, hang on a minute, I'm doing all these jobs. And to me, I think, oh, why do I get the shit jobs?
Yeah.
Backstage sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But they're actually really valuable as front and face of a business. And sometimes, hang on a minute, this is just not quite aligned how we need to. And then the value is added when that clarity becomes defined.
Well, yeah. And the other thing too is just understanding, your strengths. And if you're playing to your strengths, so you'll do those things because the reality is I'd probably stuff it up.
You'll get bored.
Or I get bored and I'll just put it off and off and off and off. So understanding the leadership shift from doing to leading, from moving from the I'll just do it, stopping yourself being the bottleneck. So I guess one of the challenges that I'll put out to anybody listening to this podcast right now would be, where are you the bottleneck in your business? And as you scan the horizon around your business, who could you take some of that responsibility and give to?
Yeah.
Who could you give some of that responsibility to so that you stop being the bottleneck?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, once you become the bottleneck, what will happen is the people around you will start to see you as the bottleneck. They'll start to get frustrated with you. And that doesn't just include your team, it includes your clients as well.
Yeah. And what do you add in there? Are there any other bottlenecks in your business?
Mm.
And be fair, because if you feel that you have a team member who is a bottleneck, are they a bottleneck because you haven't given them all of the tools they need to? Are you holding them back doing something? So you have a little look at that as well.
Yeah, because you always say that leadership is leverage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the more that you can behave like a leader in your business, which is around delegating effectively and not saying I need to do everything, not being the bottleneck, trusting the people around you, getting all of that done is how you actually leverage your time, your expertise to be working in your genius, doing the right things and growing your business. So I love that kind of leadership is leverage concept.
Yep. Great session.
Yeah, fantastic. So this is the sort of things we teach our mastermind clients all the time around how you can use these very simple tools So if you're listening to this right now, have a think about this. Where's trust missing? Where are you the bottleneck, or is there somebody else being a bottleneck? Are you actually effectively delegating by following those 4 simple rules we shared with you today? Really simple stuff that will help you to scale your business whilst maintaining a really solid and happy relationship. Until we speak next time in the Mastermind for Business podcast, please make sure you spend time with those who matter most.